food delivery needs, make sure you go to Light Snack. That's LYTE snack.com. And make sure for all of your deliveries, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, you visit Light Snack and they'll deliver it right to your door. And make sure when you get those deliveries, make sure you're ordering those Magic City wings. And remember, their motto, don't forget to lick the sauce. Welcome everyone to another episode of No Jazz. That is the acronym for Not Just Another Sports Show. I'm your host, KD. And to my left, you're right. I do this every time. Sometimes it's right and left, but all the episodes, 71 episodes, 71 recordings, or maybe we just got 71 videos and 40 recordings. Nevertheless, he's been there at all of them. Say hello to my main man, Tank.
I can't hear anybody. I guess I'll say hello because I can't hear them. So I'll say hello so they can hear me. Hey, everybody.
Say hello to the people, Tank.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Hey, I'm ready to get into it.
We got to get into it, man. You see how we are late night, had to wait a night. And before I begin, I just want to make sure everyone is commenting, subscribing, hitting the like button, sharing on YouTube at NOJASS No Jazz Show, on TikTok No Jazz Show, on Instagram at NOJ.X at No Jazz Show. And soon, because I have been researching, we will be getting on live stream, and I'm going to see how to double up, and we're going to be adding ourselves to the Twitch area.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just had a Twitch.
To the Twitch area and the Twitch platform, see how we do with that. But nevertheless, I want to just welcome you all and thank you all for all of your views, all of your comments that you've been giving us in the past few weeks as we progress and we thrive to move forward with this podcast venture, that I, as well as Tank, have been so graciously on since the beginning of the football season. And before we get into the show, I do want to send a special moment of silence or prayer out to the families, the city, all the victims of the New Orleans situation that occurred that postponed the Sugar Bowl game of Notre Dame versus Georgia, for one day. That is a very sad incident that we as people, that we as Americans don't like to hear that type of news about. And I won't get into the details of what happened. I'm pretty sure everyone has seen something in regards to it, in the past few hours. But we definitely want you all to definitely know that you and your families and the city of New Orleans, state of Louisiana, has been acknowledged. And then, of course, the game went on today. But before we get into that game, we're going to start with game one, CFP playoffs. Arizona State versus Texas. Mercedes-Benz, Atlanta. Their tune-up, because that will be the place of the actual national championship game. But it was a very exciting and interesting game that looked as if it was going to get out of hand at first, and everybody's parlay was going to hit just right on time. Their over-unders were going to hit right on time.
Mm-hmm.
That's the world we live in. And Texas got out to a commanding 14-point, and it just looked like it wasn't going to stop. And then it did. Yeah. And Arizona State started something we probably had never seen. A lot of people, watched that game and say, let's see how Scatterbo's going to do. That's all we knew about him, other than what is his name, Randall McDaniel.
Yeah.
Being a alumni of that school. But nevertheless, that's what happened. That was one of the W's. You got anything to say about that game? The things that you saw?
I'll say this. One of the reasons why I refuse to bet on a college game, I don't really like betting anyway because I ain't got no control over it.
I'm not gonna tell you all what it's man.
But I won't bet on a college game because I do not trust kids. These games, you see teams jump out 20-point lead, and okay, they're doing what they was expected, and the next thing you know, you're in a dog fight for the second half. You're like, wait a minute, how did this happen? It's like they just let up, or the other half or the other team decides they're gonna start playing. So, but as far as the game went, the second half was good. I enjoyed the second half. It was real competitive, and I don't know what happened or what kicked in for Arizona State to start doing what they were doing, and Texas to not only not be able to stop it, but to also move the ball themselves. I mean, it was like night and day. And if Arizona State had done that in the first place, they would have been playing next week. It was in that what's his name,
Scatterboo.
Scatterboo.
You
Um,
utility boo.
he
Taysom Hill boo. The young man earned himself. I won't necessarily go into draft position.
mhm.
And I'm gonna let you get into that, because that's pretty much the highlight of that game. Scatterboo, what he did, the disappointment, the back to back, the overtime, 4th and 13 touchdown to stay in the game. The questionable helmet to helmet contact.
Yeah.
That kind of kept Texas sort of in the game to a degree. But nevertheless, the prevailing of the with the 2-point conversion and the interception at the end, Scatterboo still became the story of the game
Yeah, he
by
was
virtue
also
of
the
him earning
MVP.
himself. He
The
earned himself some
MVP.
money. I won't necessarily say he changed his draft position, and we're probably going to touch on him again a little later. But what do you see him as going on to the next level?
I want to see his measurements because I mean he's strong. He's he's quick. I don't think he's not necessarily fast. I'm thinking he's a 4.7 or a 4.6 guy. He's got to have a good 40 time and a good 20. The 20-yard shuttle. But he's cock strong. He's I'm not sure if he's going to translate to the NFL. And somebody's probably says, "Oh, what you mean you saw?" And the reason I say that because I need to see how big he actually is. Because
215. He's
yeah,
5'10", 215. They say he lost 25 pounds in the off season, and that probably was for exactly what you were talking about,
yeah,
to drift a little faster. Not maybe not speed, but just drift a little faster. Take off the extra pounds. It'll
yeah,
by default give you more speed, but not really.
yeah. So if they're saying he's 5'10", he's 5'9". So we're gonna see because he got to and this always happens when you make comps with guys, and especially if it's a white running back who's excelling. You usually group them up, put them with another white running back who's good. I don't think he's Mike Allstott. I don't think that
A little small for
he's
All Star.
smaller. Yeah, I look at him as maybe, hopefully, he has a better career than Toby Gerhart. But Toby Gerhart, when he was at Stanford, was a man amongst boys. He was putting up numbers. But and he also reminds me of, and this goes back to '87. There was a running back who played at Colorado State named Steve Bartolo, who was
Bartolo.
yeah, was like a fire plug of a guy, but he wasn't fast, but he was sudden. And when he pounded into the line, everybody was moving because you couldn't just bring him down with one or two guys.
Right.
I think this guy is gonna, if he has enough suddenness, someone might be willing to make him a feature back or move him to fullback because he has hands. He could actually wind up being a better version of what's his name, Krizik, or what's his name, whatever the guy.
Christian McCaffrey. Christian.
No, the guy at San Francisco, the fullback, Khrushchev, I think that's
Oh,
his name.
Crochet.
Yeah,
Yeah, one of those
Khrushchev.
utility
Yeah,
guys, right?
yeah, and he might wind up being used similarly to Allstott, and by that I say as a fullback who can run the ball and move around, but not saying he's Allstott, but being a fullback who's actually utilized to carry the ball, to run the ball, not just occasional passes or whatnot. I think that might be his niche, and you might move him, you might swing him out the tailback every now and then, but I think he definitely helped himself because he's gonna. I don't think he moved from one round to the next, but I think he might have moved up in whatever round they were thinking he would be. I see him maybe the second round because nobody really wants to put value to running back that high to go in the first round anyway. So I could see him going second or third round. But
Yeah, we won't give him Peyton Hillis because that's about 250. So he carries, because the game itself, he kind of did a job interview for any innovative,
yeah,
offensive minded offensive coordinator, and you start saying, okay, speed and power may cause because the NFL is about matchups.
right.
So he can be a mismatch somewhere in a scheme, especially
Mm-hmm.
inside the 20. And so
Yeah.
I said, or the red zone. So I said definitely Taysom Hill running back mixed in with a little all-star on as far as position on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Where you are in field position. Quarters also. He just looks like a hard-nosed guy that's willing to drain a clock if
Yeah.
need be.
He's definitely a throwback,
Definitely a
and
throwback
I
guy.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that.
I don't see featured. I do
Mm-hmm.
see if I have a what's my man out in is it Jamar Gibbs?
Gibbs, and
Montgomery.
Montgomery. Yeah.
Okay. Even though Montgomery's there, he's a thunder lightning situation for me. In a league where featured backs are small and you're seeing they're not lasting. I think if he falls in the second round, looking at what's going to happen to Saquon Barkley next year, and we'll get into that as far as 2,000-yard rushers the next year, I think he'd be a great offset if Philly says, let's pick him up and take 30% of these runs off of
Yeah, off
Saquon,
Barkley.
who,
Mm-hmm.
who's going to probably need a more efficient and be only available for a more efficient 12 to 1300, if lucky, next season. Probably a bigger and tougher Algier, to out of Texas. What's the running back?
Bijan
Bijan.
Robinson.
Change of pace.
Yeah.
Man, I just ran out of breath, and then I'm gonna throw this big guy in and pound on you, and then let him out of the game, and then this other guy come in and scat on you. Stuff like that, because I think that's the idea of Algier, but the size doesn't translate.
Didn't translate. Mm-hmm.
That so in a package, I'm seeing he could maneuver himself into a package on an NFL team, like that. Now, and I don't want to go too deep into him because this segment is going to, lead to him
Yeah.
us speaking on him again. So let's go to game 2, where Dylan probably lowered his stock.
I hope not, but because I wouldn't want to take one game and just drop a guy because you got all this game film. But yeah, he definitely did not help himself. Penn State's coach Franklin, they came up with a game plan. They came
Ohio
up with
State.
them. Oh yeah, Ohio State. Yeah, Ohio State. I expect to see them playing in the championship game. Ryan Day can save himself for another year if he wins the national championship. He still got
Absolutely.
to come back. He's beat Michigan next year. Otherwise, he's a bum compared in their eyes. But they came out, man. Are they now wide receiver?
LSU
Are
still
they
got a
getting?
strong case.
Yeah,
How far back are we going?
we go back to. Let's just go back to Odell because he kind of started the LSU thing.
If Odell started the LSU wide receiver U conversation, you know what's funny about that? You know what's funny about that? The Odell Beckham wide receiver U conversation did get started, but they were leaning on the cornerback U,
Yeah, yeah, DBU.
DBU, and Ohio State was hanging out in the DBU area as
Yeah,
well. It's kind of
yeah.
crazy. And then I think Alabama kind of took over DBU a little bit and wide receiver U. So Ohio State with that young man, that freshman that they have
Hmm.
who's competing just to go along with Alabama's freshman. It is longevity wise. Ohio State was making an argument right after the University of Miami wide receiver U years, and
They're still making noise,
they're
and
still making noise. So it's a credible argument for people who probably are going to be arguing only out of the state of Ohio for them,
yeah,
but it's
yeah,
credible.
yeah. I mean, Ryan Day, if he can beat Michigan, he he's walking on holy ground in this for those people. But in spite of that, he is a good coach. For whatever reason, he hasn't been able to get past Michigan. But he gets them in the playoffs. They win, and now you look at them. They're in spite of they're on their way to playing for a national championship. They should be. And on the other end of that, you got a team that didn't expect to be on their way home, who was expecting to be playing in the national championship.
You know, and that's why I say Dylan hurt himself because you're saying you hope not, right?
Yeah, not
But he
because
had
I'm a
he had a
Dylan
man on the
fan,
other
but
side of the ball in Will Howard
yeah, who
who could have placed himself in that position to be what Dylan was going to be. NFL Combine and the draft always comes up with this dark horse quarterback that you never saw coming. And this guy's a senior. He's throwing to some serious weapons, and now he's put himself on the watch. He definitely JJ McGrath himself that last game. So
yeah, he definitely did.
I'm going to watch out for that. But it was a dominant performance um, by Ohio State. It was the second time that Ohio State has come in with the best possibility for a national championship. That being, I believe, 2012 with Mariota, and Ohio State put them out,
Hmm.
and they put them out in dominant fashion again. It's like the Oregon Ducks are making themselves known for. You're just that Pac-12 team that's doing everything out in the Pac-12, but when you play anybody across the Mason-Dixon line, you're
Yeah,
really just not
they made them look ordinary because when they're
right,
playing in their conference, they look faster, they look smarter, and they look better
right,
schemed, better coached than everybody. But
right.
when they play the top teams in either SEC school or Big Ten school, they look ordinary.
Absolutely.
They and they get it
With the
because
exception of the uniforms.
yeah, they look ordinary and they look like man, they overrated. And it's not that they're overrated. Those other teams that just execute and are just that much better than they are. It's
You
not.
know, exactly. Oregon tends to believe same thing with their basketball team. It's the same
Mhm.
thing. Because they make it to Sweet 16s, and then you realize y'all aren't really very athletic, you know. But at the same
Yeah.
time, you all think you can recruit those Alabama, the state of Alabama, the state of Georgia guys, who the state of Florida guys, for whom the Power Five big schools on the East Coast said we don't want you,
Right.
but you are top notch out there.
Yeah. It's like going from being you're great at two double in a 2A school. You're great. But now you're playing a 6A school and you just nothing against you. You aren't that caliber.
You
You
would have
aren't
been
that
you'd have
caliber.
been fourth on the depth chart at the
Yeah.
6A school.
Yeah. You wouldn't have ever got on the field. They because you think about it, how many Oregon players over the years have gone on and starred in the NFL, not made an NFL team, but starred.
There you go. I got a question based upon um your analogy there. Who's the team that beat Booby Miles' team?
The Carter Cowboys, Dallas Carter Cowboys.
Dallas Carter Cowboys. Does Booby Miles start on the Dallas Carter Cowboys?
Possibly because he was recruited by every major school. He was recruited by every major
Okay.
school. Him. The rest of that team, no. Because they only had Christian went and played at TCU. No, the quarterback went and played at TCU as a walk on for a year. They didn't have a bunch of college recruits. They didn't
They
have
didn't have
D1
they didn't
players.
have
No.
five stars like Dallas
Yeah.
Carter did.
Yeah. They didn't. Yeah.
It's a
He's the only
possibility.
one who would have
It's a
started.
possibility Booby. It's a possibility Booby get moved to DB
Yeah. He's the only one from that team that would have started for Dallas
for
Carter.
Dallas Carter. And I think and we're going to give Booby Miles his props because he was an athlete. But I think that's the you stand out amongst those guys. But when you get in with those guys, you're just
Yeah.
another guy.
Yeah.
So that's the point he was saying. And segueing on into that, I don't think I don't think he lost draft stock, but he's another one that was from the area. Go out west and you look like you just all world. Notice how we segueing into this. And he met up against Penn State and they made him look like a pedestrian.
Yeah, the other two backs look better than he did. Penn State's two backs look
Penn
better than
State's
he
two
did.
backs up their stock. See, and
Yeah.
you know what? Just for a second, that's football. Oh, you all, cause you all want to give this guy all this attention. Let me show you. Let me show you how we ball.
And again, say Penn State, Boise State. Boise State can beat them. They did beat Oregon. I won't take that away from them. But Boise State,
Look at what Oregon got beat by. Go ahead.
yeah. But Boise
Same
State,
conference.
yeah. Boise State has always been like the little guy that could, or the little guy that was trying. I mean,
Their whole life.
yeah, you
Right. Ever
can't,
since we've known them.
yeah, you can't put them and say, okay, we want to put you in the Pac-10, I mean the Big Ten or the SEC or maybe even the ACC and expect to see you finishing in the top two or top three. Because they don't recruit those. They do like Kansas State used to do. They recruit a lot of JUCOs and a lot of guys that fell through the cracks. They don't. Doesn't Genty was a 3-star, if I'm not mistaken. He was a
Coming
3-star
out of high
recruit
school,
coming
right?
out of high school. Yeah, and heck of a back. It looks good, but he went up against a whole team that was dead set against letting him run a
A front
roughshod
four
over
that
them.
was what was
Yeah,
was man.
yeah,
Shout out to young Zane Durant. Pierre, I see your son. Regina, I see your son. Handling business. I'm gonna always be a little upset, but right now, like he made a great decision, to go to Penn State. I can't say it was from a family standpoint. We was the young man going to the U because he liked it, from what I hear. But you see what happened. But shout out to that young man as he moves forward. Shout out to Penn State as they move forward.
What
Go ahead.
who do you have in the national championship?
Before I give you that,
Okay.
our last game was Notre Dame, Georgia. And you know what? Let me. Do you know who's the most upset about the Georgia losing?
Georgia fans and SEC people.
I'm gonna say they're 1B and 1C. You know who 1A is?
Cool.
Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is looking at that game and saying that was our game plan. They never should have been there in the first place. We let them off the hook. I think that the Georgia Tech team saw that game and was like, that's who they were. And Notre Dame just had the time to execute, and the athletes, because that what was that, 2 out of 12 first downs?
Yeah, that's not.
It was
Yeah.
something. It was ridiculous. Like it was just dominant. Why are you here?
I was glad to see Notre Dame. 'Cause, I like Notre Dame going back quite a ways. Even like when Tony Rice was there, and so I'm glad to see that Notre Dame made it, that they beat Georgia, and hopefully the Golden Dome has, hopefully Franklin has restored. Not Franklin, that's Penn State's. But what's the name? Hopefully he's restored the golden luster to the helmet. There are certain teams that it's just good for college football when
To see him in
they're
there,
doing well. Yeah, when they're doing well. There's some schools, and it
Marcus
was
Freeman.
okay, but yeah, Freeman, yeah. But there's
I,
some
I,
schools that it's just good when you see them competing at the highest level.
you know what did? You know what made matters worse? The SEC all upset, just like you said. SEC people are upset because our two big dogs, and we've been telling you all for the longest in the SEC, is Alabama, and who wants to be that guy to make Alabama look like they're the only big dog that year? Because Florida will get in that slot, LSU will get in that slot, Tennessee might get in that slot, Georgia will get in that slot. But all of you fall down where Alabama was consistently
Right.
up there. Now it might look like Georgia and Alabama not holding down the slot, but Alabama might be doing what Georgia was doing, and Georgia might be holding it up for LSU and all the rest of the guys. But at the same time, I say that to say this: Notre Dame is in the ACC. Little known fact. They're either about to be in it or they're in it now.
I think no, they're still independent, but all the other sports they compete
All
at
the
the
other
AC.
sports ACC,
Yeah,
right?
the
The football
ACC.
team
Yeah,
has its own little, but
yeah,
they're on the website ACC, right?
yeah.
And so, people were playing with that notion, and that being that brand that it is, and it can't hold its own independent brand, and that's probably the case. How that works, that they're doing that for their other sports, but that was like a good notion to play with a lot of upset SEC people. So, having said that, to answer your question, before I get to that, top 4 seeds were Georgia, Boise State,
Texas.
Texas, and no. Texas wasn't the top seed.
Texas.
It was
Yeah,
Oregon,
yeah,
Georgia,
yeah.
Boise State, and who else went down?
Arizona State.
So they were fourth? No.
I think no. The four. There's one we're missing, but the top 4 seeds were all eliminated.
Top 4 seeds all eliminated. And the thing about that is If we were playing under the 2023 rules, those would have been the 4 teams in it.
They're winning. Yeah.
And you now see Georgia dominant in those top 4 seeds, which is why you need the well, I guess not. Maybe Texas was the number 1 seed. It's saying, hold on. No, Texas was a 5th seed. Let me go to the bracket. I want to get this right.
No, you got some people saying that they want to see it expanded to 16 games,
16.
16 teams, and I don't see the point of that.
It was
I
Arizona
think,
State.
yeah, it's 12 is it's perfectly fine because the way it goes, you got 12, 13 gonna be mad. Okay, you go to 16, number 17 is gonna be mad. You need to win your division, win your conference, or come in second. And then there's out at large bid.
And at large.
Everybody, yeah, we can't have, and we shouldn't have 4 teams from one conference playing in national championship, playing in the playoffs. You can't invalidate winning your conference and say, well, you won your conference. We don't think you're that good, so we're not going to let you in. No, because if you do that, you really do invalidate winning the conference. But 12 is a good number because we also don't want to see the college football season going on to the end of January. Going on.
Which is why, even though I'm looking at Penn State, Ohio State as my picks,
Yeah.
because that's a Big Ten championship.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather see Texas, Notre Dame, or Ohio State. No, I don't want to see. I don't want to see a conference championship as the championship. Even if they earn it, they earn it. But I don't want to see that.
I would like to see Notre Dame. I like to see Notre Dame win it, but I like to see Notre Dame beat Penn State.
Well, they play each other in the semis.
Yeah, that's the game that I would prefer to have as a national championship.
Right. You're exactly.
Yeah,
Ohio State, Texas probably going to be. Ohio State, Texas is going to be because Arizona State would have been a seeding Cinderella.
yeah.
So I do believe the people did all they could to make Texas get in the rank, but it's going to be a good 4. Hopefully Sarkisian,
Yeah.
looks at a little bit more tape because Ryan Day and Sarkisian both need to go in that room. Like Sarkisian doesn't understand. He hasn't come to grips with SEC football. He hasn't come to grips with Texas football.
Right.
Ryan Day hadn't come to grips with the history of Ohio State football.
Ryan Day needs to win it.
It hadn't warmed on him just yet.
Yeah.
Of the seriousness of what's going on.
Yeah. Ohio State needs to win it because they already. Excuse me. They already thanks. Because they're already talking about, hey, we spent 20. We got a $20 million roster. We bought these players in here. You should be winning a championship. And that's what. And we've seen there's been a mass exodus from these teams that lost these bowl games. Guys jumping into the portal. Boise State got a lot of players being poached, as their coach called it. Dirk Cutter, he's retired now, and he's in his retirement speech that he left and put on social media. He talked about the fact that all these other teams are coming in trying to take their guys because Boise State can't compete in NIL wise. So really, these days, if you don't win the national championship, it's like the NFL. If you don't win the national championship and you spend all this money on this team, hey, your window might be closed because these guys might go jumping into the portal because hey, so and so offered me $10 more than what y'all giving me.
Let's speak on that. Like for instance, you can look at the Final Four, and Texas, Ohio State is a money grab, and Penn State, Notre Dame looks like a more traditional. I'm playing the schools that are going to field juniors and seniors. Because
Mm-hmm.
people don't go to Penn State to leave. People don't go to Notre Dame to leave. Like these guys, to be honest with you, these are traditional schools where when you go to Penn State and you go to Notre Dame, your professional career is about being a neuroscientist or astronaut or something that goes along. Your football career is your college football career, and you stand on that. Like, not saying that they don't have NFL history.
Yeah, but
Those
when
schools
guys,
just
yeah,
those
when
guys are
guys
going
go
there to
there,
get their degrees.
and I'm going there because it's Penn State. I'm going there because it's Notre Dame.
It's Notre Dame,
It's,
right?
if I'm getting NIL money while I'm there, that's great. But
I have
I'm
a
going
level of
there because
academia about me.
and the tradition and everything, the Golden Domers, Touchdown Jesus,
Yeah,
Newt Rodney, people go there, and if you, of course, if they aren't nowadays, if they aren't getting their playing time, they'll say, man, maybe I should go somewhere else. But they haven't had to. I've seen they haven't had a mass exodus of guys going into the portal.
they just don't. Exactly. They don't have a mass exodus of guys leaving their junior year declaring for the NFL. It's just to see both of them on that side, you
Mm-hmm.
might be looking at, every 2 or 3 years, these are the teams that end up showing up in the Final Four for these championships. Ohio State, Texas, and all the other schools in Texas are going to be competing from an NIL standpoint.
Yeah.
You know, so we may see that happen in this new day and age. Now, segueing, let's go into Sunday. Biggest stories of Sunday coming out of it is, well, the week off of Sunday. The week
Mm-hmm.
is, let's keep it a buck. Saquon Barkley and the Philadelphia Eagles have solidified no more than, I believe, a 2 seed, and I don't think the two
Yeah.
seed gets the bye week anymore.
No, it's only one bye week. That's the
It's
one
only one. It's
seed.
only one. The top seed gets the bye week. So Nick Sirianni has decided, along with Saquon Barkley in private, I heard, that even though he broke the record, congratulations to Saquon for breaking the record, 2005. Well, getting 2,000.
Yeah.
2,005 yards. Um, they have decided that we're not going to go for 2,105. I know this does Eric Dickerson a great honor because he said he's not going to break it. I believe when Eric Dickerson said he wasn't going to break it, he said it in the context of 15 or 16. Um, and then in his mind, he probably still said it in the context of tying it or being close to it. Because I believe Eric Dickerson did do something in 15 games that.
Yeah. No, Dickerson
Dickerson
broke
broke
the
it in
record
15. Yeah, he was
in
playing 16.
15. Yeah.
Dickerson broke the record in 15 games. So
Yeah.
in his mind, he was going to hold him at 15. He was going to allow professionalism and rule book. I had 16 games to extend the record, so I can't do anything about him breaking the record in the 16th game. But 17 games, nah, we're not. We're not doing it.
Yeah.
I even acknowledge that I broke it in 15 and OJ got it in 14. But I'm not gonna let you just go up 2 more games.
Yeah. I understand how he said it, and I also know that he said it whenever anyone is approached 2,000. He said it again with Saquon. He said, I don't want my record broken. And he said anybody who doesn't mind their record being broken, you don't have a record. He said
Exactly.
but he also said, and he's always said, if he breaks it, I will congratulate him and I'll be happy for him. But I don't want it broken. And anybody that's an athlete or has a record in anything, generally, unless it's your child is going to do it or a family member that's going to do it, you don't want to see it broken. I had no problem with him saying it, and I
LaShawn
also,
McCoy.
yeah,
I mean, and Pac-Man Jones.
yeah, like ask Dan Marino. He didn't want his passing record broken. He congratulated him, but he didn't want it broken. Nobody wants their record broken. I want to stay at the top of the mountain. And Walter Payton, when they asked him about breaking the record, he said, he wanted to break it, and he also said that I'm going to try to set the record so high that the next
And no
man
one
that
can
came and
break it.
tried to break it,
Why exactly?
it was gonna bust their heart.
Exactly. Shout out to Eric Dickerson, who in the 16th game of the season in 1984. And we're gonna get into that too.
Yeah, but
I
I
think he
think the
carried the
Eagles
ball
are doing them
26,
bad.
27 times.
Yeah,
You know, going into the playoffs to extend the record so it couldn't be broken.
yeah,
Like Saquon is 2 yards over OJ
yeah.
in the
I
16th
think
game.
the Sirianni and the Eagles, and they're in because they asked Saquon the other day. Saquon had an interview. He said, "Yeah, he said his family wanted to break." He said he wanted to break. He said he wanted to play. I think they're doing him a disservice by not letting him play. And I don't want to hear anything about this. He could get injured stuff because let's put it this way: he doesn't break the record, and they go and they lay a goose egg and lose in the first round of the playoffs. There's no record. We don't know when somebody's gonna come along and even threaten it. And you squandered this season because we want to make sure he's healthy, and you lose in the playoffs. So now you don't have anything. For a record like that, if he's breaking him to break the career rushing mark, all time rushing mark, yes, I would play him. If it was him breaking the single season mark, yes, you need to play him. At least let him play the first half. If he breaks off 2 52-yard runs in the first quarter, all right, you broke the record. You could get some more yards, but hey, we can handle this without you. Go on and sit down. But don't, because look at Buffalo. Buffalo is letting Josh Allen go out and play to keep his streak going for consecutive starts.
But
And
all he really has to do
yeah,
is,
take it and turn and hand it off. But still, the
or even take
principle
a knee.
is, yeah, but still, they're still letting him keep a record going, keep a streak going. And Josh Allen, this is not an all-time record that he's doing with this streak. Saquon has the opportunity to break one of the most hallowed records in the NFL in football because 2,000 yards is 2,000 yards. Hey, when the NFL finally decides they're gonna keep fleecing these guys and they get up to 18, 19, 20 games a season, then 2,000 be like, you got to
Right.
change all the other. But as of now, let the man go out and break the record.
Here's what I have to say about that. You're a former running back, right?
Mm-hmm.
What were you without your offensive line at running back?
Like everybody else, not very effective.
Okay, so my point is this:
Put all of them in
Saquon,
the game.
huh?
I know what you're gonna say. No, everybody that starts on offense, y'all gonna be out here and we're
Right,
gonna break this record.
and so it still turns. You're going into the playoffs. You don't have a bye week. You couldn't do it in 15. They're going to argue that. You couldn't do it in 16. They're really going to argue that. But you do it in 17. But in doing it in 17, you don't have a week off. And just like you said, running backs don't run by themselves. Running backs have to run with their offensive linemen. That's not to say their offensive linemen wouldn't be gung ho about helping this man break the record and putting their names to go along in the record books and probably get some Rolex watches, all that good stuff, etc. Nevertheless, you have to feel them, and it's not about Saquon getting injured. It's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 offensive linemen, somebody taking a bad angle, somebody getting arm barred the wrong way, and you're out of offensive lineman and you're already out of quarterback. So it's not. I agree. with them not going for it in that regard, because the importance right now is a championship and not 2105. The glory of it, if you're not going anywhere, because OJ did it, he wasn't going anywhere. I don't know where. Think there have been five. No, there have been six running backs in the NFL who rushed for 2,000.
And
One.
they all went to the playoffs. OJ didn't go to the playoffs.
OJ didn't go to the playoffs. Nine of them have done it.
Yeah.
Six went to the playoffs. Five got ousted in the first round. One went on to win the Super Bowl. So it's like, and he had a bye week the next week, going into that week. So it's like, you have to really take into consideration the full scope of this man running for, because they may not just give it to him. They might give it to him, but they may not just give it to him. And then, with the Giants being the Giants may have a chip on their shoulder, a little upset, like, hey, we're not about to let
they're not going to let
man,
them.
I don't think they're feeling too good about, we thought he was over, and now look at what he's doing. Then you have this aspect too. We talking like Saquon Barkley is Iron Man. This boy brittle. Like he's been injured, getting hit, and not being hit at all. You put him out there for 106 yards, 101 yards, 102 yards to break it, I guess. 101 yards to break it. You put him out there, and some freak happens. Like, he brittle like that. So we have to consider, I think a lot of us are speaking from fan, running back. We just want to see records broken. But what is really the most important thing here?
It's a Super Bowl, but there's nothing saying that you can't do both. My thing is,
the data shows you can't. One in six shows you can't.
Yeah, but nothing. But those other teams, those other ones on those teams weren't good enough to win the Super Bowl anyway. They weren't Super Bowl favorites. But if you go out, tell them, guys, and you ask any of his offensive linemen or those guys on 10, they're going to say, yeah, we want him to break the record. The same thing they did with Dickerson. Yeah, OJ, come on. Hey, you got to pick the pace up. You got to pick. We behind pace. You got to get. All right, I'm going. Get the ball. Feeding the ball. We're going to try to win. We're going to win this game, but we're going to get you these yards. Same thing they did with Terrell Davis. Hey, Terrell, hey, your pace, you got to pick it up because we behind pace right now. You need to, okay, he just broke one for 50. Okay, we on pace now. Okay, we're going to win. And then they will sit him.
That's still thinking I got a bye week next week.
No, but when you're on pace for it, you in the play and your teammates want you to break the record. No teammate, I've never heard or seen a teammate, man, I wish you wouldn't have broke their record. And that's just a negative record, like most fumbles or something like that.
Is he going to say that though? Like that extra block going against that man, and okay, I got 10 minutes left in the game. I kind of want to get this 10 minutes and then rest the rest of the next week, because now I got to play that as a bye week. But I don't think that guy's going to verbally be against it.
I think at the end of the season, especially if they don't win it, you're going to hear those guys saying, boy, I sure do wish we could have got Saquon their record. I mean, everything he did for us when he got here and all this, I really do wish we would have gotten that record. And if Sirianni
they might say that about 2000.
The record, because he's
still at a plateau.
He's close.
He's still at a plateau where a lot of men haven't gone either.
Yeah, but nobody talks about the only time that 2000 comes up for anybody that doesn't have the record is when people say X number of guys have rushed for 2000, but that's it. Nobody you don't hear anybody mention Jamal Lewis. You don't hear people mentioning Jamal Lewis, and that's somebody then. Oh yeah, Jamal, he did get 2000, but nobody talks about it.
What was Chris Johnson?
Yeah, CJ2K, but nobody talks about him. When last time anybody talked about CJ2K? They talk more about CJ2K when they had the combine to see who was gonna break his combine 40.
When you bring up
Now
when
it
you
was
bring up
been now
OJ
it's
name
been
when you
broken
bring up OJ's name,
on the
hold on,
field.
hold on. Let's look at it. Let's look at this aspect. 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 Which running backs get talked about the most?
Running backs they played very well in the Super Bowl. Running backs who have all time records. A running back who has an all time record.
Running backs who have rings, and running backs who did very well in the Super Bowl. Timmy Smith probably get more pub than Edgerrin James.
Only time Timmy gets pub is when when the Super Bowl. We got 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, and they start
Exactly.
running
So
NFL films, and they
so
show
you want
here's the
Saquon,
here's that
to
one.
be in that conversation, right?
No, there's nothing saying that he can't. It's not a fact that they can't do both. There's nothing guaranteeing that they will or that they won't. Let the man go play the first half. If he doesn't do it or he's not like right here before to break the record, say, come on, we need to rest you. We need to rest these guys. Sorry. Okay, I understand. You gave me a shot. But to just sit him down like that, that's to me, that's just like the mess the NBA does when they just start resting guys. People coming,
But
and they
you
looking.
resting for the
Hey,
playoff.
I'm an Eagles fan, and I got a ticket to the game. I'm not a season ticket holder. I happen to get this. I was able to
Come
get
on now,
this thing ticket. I'm
now
going.
you should have
No,
known. You should have known
no,
the
and
17 game of the season.
I'm going to see. I'm going. I got the ticket. I got a ticket. I'm going to see Saquon.
But the 17th game
Why
of
he
the
on?
season, you should have
Why
known
he
you
on the
might not see him
bench?
anyway.
Why he on the bench? Why he not even? He not going to dress up?
That's what I'm trying to tell you. Kevin's situation is diminished because of what he didn't do in the pros. He needed to keep the chapters in the pros going to keep uplifting the fact that he was in not one of the major. He wasn't in one of the major conferences, Power 5 type conferences that made his yards look credible anyway. So now I need you to show us that you actually were credible. You got to the league and you showed us you were just playing out there with a bunch of little boys. When you got the men, you became human. So I think you need to like Barry was in the Big 12. They've never tackled. Well, I think it was the
Yeah, they was in the Big Eight.
Big 8 then,
Yeah,
but they've never tackled out there. You know, Barry was getting by. Barry was getting by on some stuff. Thurman was getting by on some stuff too, but they got to the league and they made like Marshall Faulk. No one was tackling out there in San Diego State's conference, but he got to the league and he still remained real. So we're going to acknowledge your college career. So when you're in that situation, you need to remain credible because we're looking at you may be all right. Nah, it wasn't what we thought it was. You know, so like Ron Dane, even though he was in the Big Ten and they tackled, his name and what he did didn't translate by the time he made it to the league. He wasn't hitting like that. So sometimes you need to continue. I don't think the legend of Eric Dickerson remains where we go back and look at what he did at SMU. The astounding feats he does. If he doesn't continue to 1,800 yard and 2,105 the next season, you don't look at like USC has a phenomenal running back
history. Yeah,
history at USC. But who do we talk about? OJ and Marcus. Them are your main guys.
yeah, and
Charles don't get mentioned. Ricky Bell don't get mentioned. Rest in peace to Ricky. It's sometimes it's a prerequisite. That's what I'm saying about that. I don't think it has anything to do with what you did in college as much as what you did in the pros to justify what you did in college.
Yeah, but again, if you don't, it's
Did Rick
not.
did Ricky Williams break records in college?
Yeah,
Ron Dane broke a record in college, right?
yeah.
We talk about Ricky Williams a little bit more. I don't know. I don't know what
It's
like look
a
at
lot
this.
of Ricky stuff is his off the field activities.
But okay,
But yeah,
if Bo Jackson and Herschel Walker's college feats don't translate, and Bo Jackson didn't have that much that translated over into the pros, except for the fact that he was just this phenomenal athlete,
yeah.
and he still showed you that in a pro level. So it has to translate for some people. It just has to translate, or it's just college numbers, and hopefully you won the Heisman and you end up in the Heisman House commercials to be remembered. Now, having said that, going into the NFL, since I just said the NFL is top dog, and you have to show yourself and show who you are in the NFL. And hopefully these guys coming up will be your 2,000-yard rushers and maybe even one day break the great Eric Dickerson's 2105.
I
But
hope not.
to you, okay, not the
Now can you
17th
dress
game of the
out?
season. No.
No,
I
no.
don't I don't
You
I don't
let
think
him
anybody
let
thinking
him
like that the
and
17th game
and
of the season.
the fact that he's that close to the record, they should do that because
No,
if that's the case, anytime somebody's a game away from a record, you just start sitting them because the
contextually
playoffs is coming. You
contextually close to the record and that close to a Super Bowl are two totally different things.
they
Now,
they 3 games from a Super Bowl. Well,
there
two
you
games
go.
from a Super Bowl.
There you
They're
go.
2 games. They have to win those games. Well, actually, they got to win 3 games in order for them to get a ring.
And the best ability is availability. And you don't want to take that chance that your guys aren't ready and fresh.
1 week is not gonna make him that much fresher. You
Oh
already
my
had a bye
goodness.
week
Oh
early. No,
no.
let him break the record. I'm sorry.
Nah.
If you ask a player,
It's
say,
not guaranteed that it's gonna be easy.
if it's not, if you don't get it done, if you don't get it done in the first half, we sitting you down. And let's be real, it's the freaking Giants. Regardless of all this, that, no, the team is not that good. The defense is not that good. He should be able to do it in the first half.
A professional who has now they could surprise us and say we're not going to run him just to make sure the Giants didn't get in the weight room, then take an extra PED that week, then do what they needed to do, go to the Lawrence Taylor, go to Lawrence Taylor's
LT,
pharmacist
LT,
and
he
get a little
said it. I
extra.
ain't said nothing. I ain't said nothing, LT. He said it.
I'm just saying, hey, to get themselves, hey, we stopping this man, and maybe even keep Lawrence Taylor from coming to the game to give him a pep talk. Oh, y'all gonna let him do this on y'all watch? Like they might have kind of broke that down. Now, having said all that, you brought up a point. We're gonna make this quick. Cause you said no one talks about. Hold on, before I get there.
Mm-hmm.
All of this led up, before I go there, who looks like the better draft prospect at this point? Ashton Genty or Scattergood?
I still say Genty when you look at numbers and what he did this year and last year. Scatterboo, what did he do last year? He could be a one hit. He could be a one hit wonder. I mean,
Right.
we've seen guys who had a great year rushing the ball. 1 year they had a great year rushing the ball and get him, and they bust in the pros.
Well, we've also seen those guys who have those great 1 or 2 year runs get to the pros and they're all ran out.
Some of them some guys
They just they've been thumped too much.
they peak in college.
Right. So the data on that and the science on that is still kind of, But for me, I commend him on his season. He didn't break Barry Sanders' single season record, but I commend him on what he did. And now speaking on the Barry Sanders, who was another 2000.
One thing right quick, and this is on the same level. We talking about like how many we don't talk about any college running backs with 2,000-yard seasons after they've done the 2,000. We talk about Barry's two record-breaking season, and a guy who came close as well, but nobody ever brings him up. He didn't do much in the pros. Kelvin Smith at Central Florida, at UCF. Yeah, the UCF. Who rushed for 2,500 yards, and then before his junior or senior year, and then went to the NFL. Nobody discusses that number because it's not a record. It's not in the grand scheme of things. They don't look at it as being important. That's the same thing I'm saying about the NFL. If you don't break a record, what's the point of talking about it? Unless you go on to become an all-time great.
I'm going to. That's tough. Here's why. It all depends. You're gonna either be Archie Griffins or Marcus Dupree, or even Eric Dickerson. Genty could easily be Marcus Dupree, and you could easily say, "Oh, he didn't break the record. That's why you all aren't talking to him." But I think he can get talked about if he goes into the league and not breaks the 2,000-yard mark or anything like that, but does great, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about as far as just the college career to 2000.
So we may know who has the greatest to you of the 9 who rushed for 2,000 in the NFL. Who has the greatest season to you? The greatest rushing 2,000-yard season?
We encapsulate the entire thing.
When you say encapsulate the entire thing, what do you mean? Yeah. Because I think looking at what I said about the 5 out of 6, I think that adds to the resume. That's a big thing.
Well, if we including the postseason, it's Terrell Davis because his culminated in a Super Bowl. But I think as far as the most impressive, I think that it might have to be Dickerson, only because Dickerson rushed for more yards than his starting quarterback passed for. His leading receiver was Henry Ellert, who wasn't Henry Ellert yet, and he only had 622 yards. Everyone knew that Dickerson was running 47 gap, 9.9 out of every 10 plays, and he was still productive. Now, somebody else who I would argue, who you could make an argument for having the most impressive.
Is this hold on. Because you're going where you're going. So I'm asking you, is TD number 1 or ED number 1? And then this guy you're about to name, is he number 3 to you?
I say TD is number 1 because of what?
So Terrell Davis is your most impressive.
Because of they won the Super Bowl. Because of that, because we're talking about the postseason also.
Right.
Yeah. But as far as, because if we were just talking about the regular season, it would be Dickerson. But since we're including the postseason, it's Terrell Davis. Now, I also think that probably the third most impressive, they're tied, would be Adrian Peterson, because he was coming back from tearing his knee up the previous year. So that made his phenomenal.
So you got to come back.
Yeah. Come back with your whole knee torn up. And you got Christian Ponder under center. And you got Percy Harvin, who was only available for 9 games. So there was nothing, he had no help either. And I would tie him with OJ, simply because other than
Adrian Peterson tied with OJ breaking 2,000 in 14 games.
Yeah. And the reason I got Peterson so high is because he was coming back off the knee surgery, reconstructive knee surgery. That really takes guys 2 years to come back from before they're back to normal. So that's why
he was not.
Exactly. So I got him and OJ tied, and OJ because he averaged the most yards per game. Yeah, 143 per game. Nobody's topped that yet. And because he did do it in the least amount of games. And he also did it. He had Joe Ferguson at quarterback, but find me somebody who didn't play on that team or who didn't play against the Bills that year and have them name the wide receivers. So he,
I
you know,
mean,
so
in that era,
it,
it's hard to
yeah,
name wide receivers. But go ahead.
yeah. But so so it was just
1973.
OJ. It was just
Right.
OJ. That's all they had. So those would be my top. Those would be my top three. And then there's some others who were just they were just good seasons, but somebody really has to mention them to bring them up, such as CJ2K, Jamal Anderson, Jamal Lewis. Somebody's got to bring him up before because you say Jamal Lewis rushed for 2,000. He did for real. Yeah, that's right, he did. But he's one of those forgotten guys who was a monster, but you don't think about it. But those are my top three.
He's kind of a 2003. He had already won his ring in 2000,
Yeah,
so it was kind of like what's most important, the feat at this point in time to go with 2003. So Jamal, I see him because I think he's the only one on the board that actually has a Super Bowl ring with Terrell Davis.
yeah, he's the only one.
Right. But even though it wasn't the 2000 season, he's still the only one with. So it's like when I think about that, I look across the board and I'm not going to get into another point here by saying this, but it's almost like I said in our last show, Derrick Henry was taking reps off
Mm-hmm.
to not get into a 2,000-yard battle or a rushing title battle with Saquon Barkley. I've been there, done that. And I also am a historian, and I also understand that you have great backs. And a lot of people put these great backs in great conversations. But how do I want to be remembered? And I think I want to tail off a little bit and try to be remembered by my championships because Emmett didn't rush for 2,000. Franco didn't rush for 2,000. I think Terrell sits in a place all his own, especially having back-to-back or at least two rings. Thurman, I'm going to give him props. I'm going to give Thurman his props for making it to 4 Super Bowls. Zonka being undefeated is a name that they put up there. You know, great
Riggins
running
for
back.
being Riggins over
Riggins
for being old
for
and
being
over 30
like
and putting up numbers.
there's a velvet rope red carpet area for your 1800 1700 guy who says, is 2000 really that important in a larger scope? However, I cannot knock 2,000 yards, 2003 to be exact, in 14 games. That is amazing. That is amazing. That is amazing. However, my number one 2000 season is Eric Dickerson. And I'm going to tell you why. I love what you said as far as the yards are concerned, but there's something that they're bringing up. He had 392 carries versus Saquon Barkley's 345 at this point in time. We got to understand that on game 15 in a
Yeah, that's when
passing
he
league,
broke.
yeah,
Yeah,
game 15 in a throwing league, I mean in a running league, not a passing league, where he could have had less. And game 16, he ran for 98 yards against San Francisco, which brought his average under Saquon because he went crazy for like
before
205, 15 games,
two.
215,
Yeah.
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So he would have been above the 5.8. But here's the stat. Here's the stat. At that time, OJ had the most 100-yard rushing games in the season.
Mm-hmm.
It took OJ all 14. While Eric broke OJ's rushing title in 15 games, he got 11 100-yard games in the season in 14 games. So he still was right there with OJ. And
Yeah.
I am not going to knock Eric Dickerson, because I don't think he brings this up enough. I went 11 out of 14. OJ went 10 out of 14.
Yeah,
And
and
14.
everybody knew I was getting the ball every
And
game because
everybody
there
knew.
was there was no passing attack because we had no quarterback. This is the thing the most for his season that's most impressive for
I gained
me, and
14
it's
after we played.
crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. Is like I said, he rushed for more yards than his starting quarterback threw for. That is crazy in the NFL. Period. I don't care what era you're in. You can see a wishbone quarterback getting out rushed, running back having more yards rushing than a wishbone option quarterback has passing. But in the NFL where they weren't running the option, this man runs for more yards than you just drop back and do this. That is overly impressive.
Mathematically, I see exactly where you're coming from. I believe that probably by in Buffalo,
Mm-hmm.
they stopped throwing the ball a lot anyway because it's cold. You know what I'm saying? Like I think their production throwing the ball was probably going to be 75-25, and then it's just going to be more because we got this machine back here that we don't have to throw the ball. Now, where I do understand where you're coming from as far as throwing efficiency and throwing capacity versus run, I'm gonna go back to
Mm-hmm.
Derrick Henry this year.
Okay.
Derrick Henry's probably going to end up with over 1,900 yards, probably the first rusher in history with 1,900 yards, and doesn't lead the NFL in rushing. However, I've
Which is
always said
crazy.
that, huh?
I said, and that's crazy into itself.
That's crazy in itself. But I've always said that he just didn't get in the battle, right? So I went I
Right.
went and looked, right? Josh Allen is current his numbers most valuable wise is being compared with the stat line of Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And the most intriguing stat line of the two is based upon the fact that people are talking about Lamar Jackson's passing quality and efficiency. At the time that I looked at this, Lamar Jackson was 224 yards passing above Josh Allen. 224. So I said, where did those 224 yards come from? So I went and looked up how many yards Saquon was above Derrick Henry. You know how many yards Saquon is above Derrick Henry at the time that I looked?
227.
222. So you can see he said, we're not take the ball out of my hands. And that 222, let's be real. That 222, when you break it down, is 6 more carries a game, 4 yards. That's Derrick could have did that in his sleep. Derrick could have did that in his sleep. So I know he dialed it back for something else, and then the productivity ends up making Lamar Jackson look like an MVP. That's why I said in the last segment, Derrick Henry was my MVP behind Josh Allen. Because you taking the ball out your hand, making another man MVP, something has to be said about that. That's an argument.
Yeah, and still, I think the voters or whoever the NFL, whoever needs to come out and tell people that MVP is
Value.
not yeah, it's the most valuable, not the best player, and is also not a stat award.
It's not a stat award, right?
Because everybody keeps pointing to look at Lamar's stats compared to Josh Allen's stats. Look at it's not a stat award. It's not the best player award. It's the most valuable, who means more to the overall game, not just to their team. You got an MVP on your team, but who's the MVP most valuable and impactful on the league? And if you take them out of the league, what did you have? Because like the last segment, last show, you can switch these other guys around to take these guys off of their teams, and their teams are gonna still be pretty good. But if you take Josh Allen away and put a normal quarterback back there, Buffalo is
Josh
five
Allen has
win
put
team.
himself on Patrick Mahomes' status with Buffalo.
Yeah, because he's got nothing to work with other than the running back. I mean, he doesn't have any elite receivers. Cooper has been hurt. Um, Coleman is a rookie, though. I mean, that's I wish they would come out and they would say it. All these so-called experts would say valuable and best do not mean the same thing. We're not voting on the best player. I think most people would probably say Lamar is the best player in the NFL, but he's not the most valuable this year. He got most valuable last year, and because you talking about, people talking about stats this year, his stats last year were mediocre for it, especially for an MVP.
That's why I said what I said about Derek. Not question. That was good. Was those your last words?
Oh no.
Oh, okay. Well, I like this man. He wasted a good conclusion.
Well, that was well, those could be my pre last words.
There you go.
Yeah. My last word is college football for the NCAA. You messed up first and foremost with the NIL and how you chose to allow it to be implemented. That combined with the portal has destroyed college football. You might as well just say these guys are working, or they're professional. They're professionals who happen to be in school at the same time because that's what they are. And we know, I know all of them, or really a majority of the guys aren't getting NIL deals. But the ones that are getting NIL deals, they just shopping themselves to the highest bidder. We looking out. That's why the college has gotten rid of the national signing day letter of intent because it doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah, you can just opt out, right?
Yeah, they need to, and the people who are capitalists and do, oh man, they've been getting over all this time. They need to get. I don't have a problem with these guys getting compensated, but I think because they're in school and because of there needs to be a differentiation between it because there's no reason why a guy in college should be making more than a lower rounded draft pick in the NFL. It makes no sense. It doesn't. I'm taking a pay cut going to the NFL because I'm a 7th round draft pick. But I was getting 2 million when I was playing at Boise State.
Right.
And all they've done is they need to figure out a way to balance this out because what you're gonna have now, and people are gonna complain, the colleges with the most money, particularly with the ones coming from the state of Texas, those are going to be the schools that theoretically are going to be the most competitive and playing for national championships every year because they can afford the best players. Like I said earlier, Ohio State's got $20 million in salaries going to going to their players, and then you have a Tulsa who's probably got $10,000 in NIL money going to their whole team. It
Right.
you know the they got rid of parity altogether, and there's no possible way that there's an even playing field. Your facilities are not enough anymore to get a guy to want to come and play for you. Instead of your facilities, it's your finances that you're gonna put in his pocket. That's what's gonna make him go. When you see a guy who's a top flight player, who's a blue chipper, and he goes to a lesser school, you're gonna know he's getting paid a whole lot of money. Why is he at Rice? Well, they're paying him $3 million a year to play there. At Rice, yeah, right. They don't win, but if he's there for 4 years, he got $12 million in his pocket.
Absolutely.
So they need to get a hold of that somehow.
Absolutely. And I'm not going to carry on with that because I have my feelings on that. But you kind of got to get a hold of it before they get to college, because I was speaking with a close relative of mine, and he's like, these kids out of hand in high school with boosters. Back in our days, we had one school, and I'm not knocking growth, but we had one school where you didn't have a choice. You went to that school, and if you were fifth on the depth chart and you were sitting behind a senior, you were just fifth on the depth chart sitting behind a senior. You can't get mad at the coach when you don't get your way, and you can just, okay, I'll just go to the high school across town. You didn't have that luxury, and these kids are now, like, it used to be against the rules to even go to school outside of, you have to do a whole lot of finessing and address changing to go to school outside of, your assigned district. Now you can go to school, when your parents don't like the coach, or you don't like what they did to your child, you in your own high school version of the transfer portal. So this wave of, I'll just leave when I want to, add it to money, starts in high school. And by the time you make it to college, when you add the money to it, I even think it's disrespectful to flip the hat. I think it's disrespectful to have all those hats sitting out there and put it on and flip it out of there, because you want to know why? There's a budget that came out there to see you, son. You made it to where these guys have put in extra time, put in extra flights, and you wasted their money, that they're going to do anyway. And then when you flick the hat and you act and you do all of this, it's a level of disrespect, in the financial side of what these people are putting forth to come get you. I understand that that's what happens, and it's cute, but I don't like that personally. Now, my last words, and I'm going to keep it few, and it's going off of your point you were making as far as value is concerned, where we, especially in the social media age, we put up stats to say this person deserves it over this person, and the numbers don't lie. Well, the numbers do lie sometimes, and I think they should be judged off status instead of stats. And when I say status, I mean stat us as a team. And the point I was making was, and I meant what I said. When you look at all those 2,000-yard rushers, when you look at the man who's getting, and it's not me arguing against him, but when you look at the man who's arguably, and a lot of people argue and say he's the greatest running back of all time, what did he actually do from a productive standpoint? That when you look at stat us, all those offensive linemen you had, Barry Sanders, don't even get a name, and you had some dogs, Lomas Brown,
Bill Fralick,
like, you had some dogs, but they're in the shadow of Emmett because he won the championships. You didn't stat us. I'm not gonna say Emmett. I'm not gonna say invented buying the lineman Rolexes, but he sure made it popular. He sure made it an agenda to let you know this is not just me. I'm statting us. We had to go back and find out. They call OJ not because of Orenthal James, not because of orange juice, because he was just so sweet, but because juice was electricity, because he ran behind the electric company. You got to stat us. That's why I say, if Derrick Henry can take off 222 yards and make Lamar Jackson put up a stat line that looks as good as Josh Allen, you got to stat us, this team. I know you want to go for a Saquon. I know it's disappointing to a degree. But Philadelphia is a very disappointing city. They need championships. They need championships in the NFC East. They're behind. No, Super Bowls. I ain't going to say championships because somebody from Philly going to be like, oh, we got all these championships. No. Super Bowls. Super Bowls. So Walter Payton, that line was stat us. Team stat us. Defense stat us. Unfortunately, Walter Payton didn't get a touchdown in the Super Bowl, and William the Refrigerator Perry did, but William the Refrigerator Perry went behind that line that was running behind Walter Payton. Those boys felt good about getting that 300-pound man over that line because they statted us. We did that just as much as he did. So that's what I'm saying. And I'm going back to college football value. There's no iron teams, but Kobe said there's an M and an E. But teams, baby, you got to put this thing together, man. Stats don't value like stat us does. So those are my last words. Now, this is or has been, or it still is, because we're not going anywhere.
And will be.
Our status is still present. No Jazz, NOJASS. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. And remember, join us on YouTube at No Jazz Show. Join us on X at No Jazz Show. Instagram, NOJ. Follow us on Facebook, No Jazz Show. Make sure you like, share, comment, email. Give us some ideas of what we need to do. We will be going live for you. We've been hearing your requests. We're going to go live. Probably something we could probably start doing playoff time, because everybody going to want to be engaging. So I got to look at my schedule and see what I do, because I'm just going to let y'all know it's me. It's me. Now see, I'll point out what I do. Individually when it I ain't gonna say it hurt the team, but I got a lot going on. I got a lot going on. So, but anyway, definitely, man.
He wears a lot of hats, because you see him wearing different hats every week, especially when he wear them ugly cowboy hats.
I'm gonna tell you something. Let me tell you something. Before I go, I have no excuses because I don't have anything to do. I don't even have anything to do week 17. And remember, ladies, for all of your comfort and round-the-house wear, lingerie, comfy clothes, make sure you visit quickvisits.com. That's QUIKVISITS.com. For all of your lounge wear, lingerie wear, sport wear, workout wear, athletic wear, make sure you go to quickvisits.com. They'll be there for you, and you'll love that I tell you. Hey, you scroll down, you go to NFL.com, you scroll down that list, and look up NFL playoff picture.
They won't be all.
When you get to the NFC box, don't even scroll past in the bubble. On the bubble. Just let it go. So KD, you do have time to do all you need to do. Because we know you ain't watching the NBA. But at any rate, Tank, salute these people, man. This has been No Jazz Show, signing off. You just watched another episode of No Jazz. Follow us on YouTube at No Jazz Show. And make sure you hit us up on Twitter at No Jazz Show. Make sure you hit us up on Instagram at NOJ.A.S.S. Follow us on Facebook, on our Facebook page at No Jazz Show. All right? See you soon.